Alright, so this is the same week edit we did the other day. I am going to do a screencast of the editing the ceremony from start to finish. It is 9:59 right now, so I'm sort of getting later start in the day than I would have liked, but you know, that's how we roll around here. The project's already open. Here, sequence 1 is the next week edit we did. And what I have done is created a new bin called Ceremony. Now, I've already done all this, some of this stuff already, because it was necessary for me to do that in order to do the edit. But I'm going to go ahead and do it again, and I'm going to go ahead and do it again for your benefit. So if you're in Premiere, this is how you need to start a multicam edit. If you're not using the multicam editing tools in Premiere, you may be missing out. They are pretty good. They are almost as good as they are in Final Cut 10. I actually like Final Cut 10's multicam editing better. And I can see doing the project actually in two different parts, one in Premiere and one in Final Cut 10. But I'm here, so I want to show you both ways. I'll probably do this again with Final Cut 10, maybe as an addendum. Anyway, so I created a new bin right here, new bin, like that. I'm going to delete this one because I already have one. And I titled it Ceremony, and I just went through all of the other stuff and picked out all of the clips that have to do with the ceremony, including all the different angles and the three audio sources. Okay, select them all. I have this open, but I don't have to have this open. Select them all. I'm going to shift select ceremony, or no, I'm not going to select ceremony. This is the multicam I've already done, so you can't sync a multicam with a multicam. There we go. So selected everything except for the ceremony multicam. That's all of the angles associated with the video, and these three here are the Sony that Chris was shooting with from P1120326. Bring it over here for a second. That's the back camera. That's a GH4 shooting probably in 4K. Yes, shooting in 4K from the rear all the way to 1120332, which is probably the last camera. There it goes right there. It's the last clip from that angle. And then 1370319 is me in the back. Or no, me on the side. Me on the side. Okay. We should have one more. We should have Chris's handheld. Ah, here it is. That's the MTS files, the 048 and 049 MTS, where the C0001 is the Sony. And it's one big long clip at 24 minutes. So it's not a super long ceremony, but it shouldn't take us long to edit this all. Not more than a couple hours. Maybe not even that. I don't know. We'll see. I started at 10. If somebody's calling me on my phone. All right. We're rolling? Where were we? I just had to take the trash out. It took about 2 or 3 minutes, so we'll subtract that as we need to. All right, so I have everything in my ceremony folder selected except for the multicam I've already done. I'm going to show you how to do that. Once you've got everything selected, go to New, File, New. Yeah, where is it? I never do it this way anyway. You go to File, then just right click any of them, create multi-camera source sequence, and give it a name. I'm going to call this one Ceremony 2 because I've already got one called Ceremony. Leave all this stuff alone. The only thing you need to make sure you do is make sure the audio is checked. Okay, and under track channel, you've selected mix down. You can select either first or second track, but you really want both, so that's mix down. Sequence preset I'm going to leave on DSLR, 1080 24p. And I usually just leave the rest of the stuff as is. And it won't take too long. The faster your computer, the faster it'll go. But even if it doesn't go super fast, it's still plenty fast enough. Oh, I forgot to sync these. I'm going to do that right now while this is going. So I'm going to go down here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Man, that was rough. Okay, so looks like it's done. Alright, so it's telling me now it could not synchronize something, so let me show you how this manages everything for us. Okay, so whenever you do a multicam function, it actually creates a new folder called processed clips, and inside the processed clip folder is everything that Premiere was able to sync. And as you can see, obviously we didn't select this one earlier, so it's not in the bin. Ceremony 2, that's our new multicam sequence. And then 1, 2, and 3 are clips that could not sync for some reason. So let me check these out, see what these are. Alright, that's a clip from like way early when I was just testing the camera, so we don't need that one. Test shot. I might have thought these people were important, and it turned out they were just comfy lighting. So we don't need that. We don't need that. And what do we got here? Was that the same thing? We just tested. Yeah, we don't need to do that. Alright, so one of the things I'm going to do, I'm going to right click on this and go open in timeline. That's going to pull up the multicam sequence. Okay. And here's the thing to understand about multicam sequences in Premiere, and this is true in Final Cut as well. Multicam sequences are nested sequences. In other words, it's a sequence that contains all your clips, but that sequence can then be treated as a file in and of itself, or a clip in and of itself. So this is what you would expect. I'm going to minimize this so you can see the timeline here. I hope my mouse is coming out well enough. You guys know that we start recording audio, usually 30 minutes or so before the ceremony. So you're going to have a bunch of extra audio, a bunch of audio that we don't need. All right. And then you're going to have all of these clips in here, this video. And Premiere has synced them for us, but it's not voodoo and it doesn't know, what goes where. So it can hardly be faulted for not organizing all this stuff. I think there is a way, maybe I'll play with it one of these days when I get a chance. There's a way to tag each camera with a number. Tag individual clips with the camera number, but it's really not hard to do what it's doing here. So the first thing we're going to do before we do anything else is we're going to arrange these in such a way to help us edit later. Okay. So this is 0048 MTS, 0049. Zoom in, MTS. Okay. So I'm going to drop that down and put those two on the same line. I'm going to grab the audio from that camera and bring it up and put it on the same line as the audio from this one. All I'm doing is collating my footage together, okay? And I'm going to do it in such a way, like I said, that will help us edit later. Here's a cool trick in Premiere. You can't see my keyboard here, but let me do that again. Okay, grab a clip, pull down to where you want it to be, hit the Shift key, and then continue to pull your mouse down, and it will place audio for you as well. Let go of your mouse finger first. Now you can let go of the Shift. Okay. Otherwise, you've got this weird thing where the audio and the video want to overwrite other clips, but basically the Shift key freezes where the video lands. And you can do it the other way around. You can do the audio first. Bring the audio up. Shift. And then do it like that. Okay? So this is 1120362627. Let me zoom in. It's 28. These are all... I'm being careful here not to move my mouse finger left and right. Make sure these numbers here continue to be 0000. That's how I know I'm not shifting things accidentally left and right. Because if you move them left and right, obviously they'll be out of sync. Okay, I'm not going to go too far with this because what I'm really doing here is making room for my audio, because I don't like where the audio is. I don't like the audio on tracks 1, 2, and 3. I really want camera audio to be there. Now, I know that we're not going to use camera audio, but I'm going to go ahead and shorten these two. I'm going to shorten them now so that I'm not... Notice I have on the here, I have all of these lined up. If I should get them out of sync while I'm doing this move, I'll be able to put them back fairly easily. Alright, so I'm going to bring those down. I'm going to bring this audio here up. Still synced. Obviously, each one is still synced to its mate. Okay. And I still have one more angle here. Go ahead and bring that in. Process is the same. Okay. There's one hiding from me. Alright. We are almost... I guess I could move this forward too if I wanted to move the whole thing forward. You don't have to. It doesn't matter. But I guess it'd make it easier. Alright. So I'm going to zoom out as far as I want to. And let's take a look at what each of these angles actually is. Okay. So let's do like this so we can see what we're doing. Okay, it looks like V3, this clip here is the wide camera. It doesn't look very wide right now, and I'll tell you why. Because that one and this one were shot with GH4s, which means, at least for the ceremony, they were in 4K. So you need to correct that now. So go ahead and grab all the 4K footage if you should happen to have any. Right click on them and hit scale to frame size. Boom. You'll notice it zooms, it appears to have zoomed out, but it's not really zoomed out. It's really just you've told the Premiere to scale your footage. Alright. And this one down here should still be in 4K or in standard definition. And this here is from the Sony, and it's in standard definition as well. Okay? Alright, so what do we do now? Okay. Alright. So we've got all this stuff settled. Now, one thing you've got down here, way down here, this is the shortest, or the least amount of stuff you've got down here. These are clips that Chris shot. Chris shot as, just bonus stuff. This is an angle of people coming in. He set the camera on a pedestal near the back of the where the ceremony was taking place to get this shot of people walking in. And one of the things you'll see when we go later is, and I'll go ahead and leave that right now, and we'll correct this later. You'll see that, man, I don't want to go jump too far ahead of myself here, but leaving this camera on this track is going to be problematic in a minute. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it so that it is a sort of teaching moment. All right, so I'm going to grab these three right here, and then I'm going to move them up to be under the audio we already have. Okay, and now one of the things I want to do is I want to eliminate empty tracks. There's no reason to have empty tracks in a multicam sequence. We've moved things around in such a way that they're all condensed. All of the individual cameras are on their own line, on their own track. All of the tracks are turned on, or in other words, they're active. I'm going to go ahead and mute all of our camera audio, on-camera audio. There's no reason to have on-camera audio on in a minute. But the only other thing I'm going to do here before I move on is I'm going to double check our sync. It's possible that Premiere, and it looks like it has done it 100% correct, but it's possible that we have clips that are out of sync. So I want to listen to them now and correct them if it's necessary. Okay. It doesn't do me a whole lot of good to check too early in here because the minister and the groom are probably in the back somewhere chit-chatting, and I don't really want to hear it. The other one is going to be a microphone that was placed up here by the band or by the musicians. Probably don't need to listen to that too early either. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over here to the meat of the ceremony where the sync sound actually matters. if you think about it, if you're a couple seconds off with music, probably nobody's going to be able to tell. The only time anybody's going to be able to tell is when you're doing vowels. So I'm going to jump forward here and listen to it.
Pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways.
One of the ways that you can tell whether or not you've got it right is to turn off all the camera audio. So I'm going to do that.
Now, that I shall know fully, even as I have been fully known.
Right,
so now faith, hope, and love abide. These three.
Okay, now the only ones we have on are
is love.
We
serve a God who is a covenant-making God.
Zoom audio tracks.
He's given us
the tracks
special
that were
graces to understand His covenants more. And
recorded with
marriage is
dedicated
exactly
audio recorders,
that.
not the cameras.
Does not envy or boast.
Okay.
It is not arrogant.
And you can compare that to your
It does not insist on its own way.
image.
It is not irritable or resentful.
And you can turn them off individually.
But rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things,
and you should see no
endures all.
Discernible difference.
Love never ends. As for prophecies, they will pass away.
Okay. I'm going to rename these. I don't always do this, but I'm going to rename from this. So I'm going to click Audio 5. Audio 5 looks like it is the music, the musicians. Good strong volume on that. So that's what that is. And I'm going to call those musicians. Okay, I'm going to expand this one and figure out which one this one is. Now, our minister is talking in this clip.
Even as I have been fully known. Now faith, hope, and love.
It sounds pretty good in both, frankly. But ministers sometimes will. So you really, the groom or the bride is really the best place to check out that. And I've been doing this long enough to know that if I'm looking at this area in here, this is the minister here. Groom usually speaks first. This is him, I believe. Okay, I'm going to turn on this one. And I really can't hear him. Turn on this one.
And give you comfort in
there he
time
is.
of need,
all right.
even through trials.
So I'm going to rename Audio 7 to Groom.
There probably isn't anything that for you
I'll probably end up picking the bride up on that one as well.
Except decide for what's for lunch or for dinner too.
I'm going to mute him again. Listening to that one.
Follow him as your spiritual leader. Do you promise to perform unto him all the
Okay. I'm going to rename this one Minister. I'm just calling it Men. Alright. You're going to notice that I don't do things in like necessarily a... I do all of this in an order. But I like to compartmentalize all this edit as much as possible. In other words, like I know the audio here is too low. I don't care right now. I'm not doing audio right now. I'm just getting it set up. We are going to come back to the audio in a minute, and you'll see how I do that. Okay. All I'm doing right now is getting the multicam sequence set up. I've labeled my audio, and all of my audio tracks that I intend to use are turned on. Okay. So camera audio 1, 2, 3, and 4 is off. Zoom audio is 1, 2, and in this case 5, 6, and 7. Alright, so now I'm going to go over here to my track. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go delete tracks. Get this menu and I'm going to tell the computer to delete video tracks, and then which ones? All of the empty ones. Delete audio tracks. Which ones? All of the empty ones. Click OK, and you'll see that my tracks that were not being used are gone. The only track that's empty is this master down here, and you can't delete that one, so no worries. I'm going to save what I have. Save and save often, as they say. Alright, so here's my multi-track sequence, and you can see that it is neat and tidy and ready to go. Alright, so as I told you that these all are nested sequences, and there are two ways to edit this nested sequence. I guess you could, if you wanted to, take a razor blade, cut, and start editing right here. That is probably the simplest, but definitely the least effective way to do it. Okay. The next most simple way to do it, I'm going to create a brand new sequence. I'm going to go to Sequence, File, New Sequence, and I'm going to call it Ceremony 2. Actually, Ceremony 2 SEQ sequence, because I already have one called Ceremony, and I already have a nested sequence called Ceremony 2. See, the icon is different here. They're all lined up here. In this icon, that means it's a multicam sequence, and they're all at random start times for this other icon. Okay. Notice this icon down here. If you've ever wondered what it was, this is what this is. Okay. In one mode, when you bring the sequence in, oops. Oh, wait a minute. I'm trying to bring a sequence into a sequence. You can't do that. All right. In one mode, this is the one I want. In one mode, you bring things in like this. Okay. This is essentially, really, the way this thing looks. Okay. I'm going to close all these sequences I'm not using right now, by the way. Let's talk about computer resources. Some of you guys have issues sometimes with computer resources. If you have timelines open and you're not using them, you're wasting computer resources. If you have tracks in your things and you're not using them, you're wasting resources. All right. Stretch. I'm going to be tired of talking by the time all this is done. You guys are probably going to be tired of hearing me. All right. So, c'est la vie. All right. So I'm going to double click my sequence. Open up my sequence. And I brought down, do it again. I grabbed my multi-track synced audio and video and brought it down. Okay. And again, you can cut here. I'll do it over here. I can play this clip.
Love never ends.
I can mute my camera audio just like I did in the other one.
As for knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when the perfect comes, the part
and it will edit.
Leaves all things.
You know, Chris, I know that you probably would prefer to edit this way.
Love never ends.
This is what you always want to do. This is how we used to do it in
As for tongues, they will
Final Cut
cease.
back in the day
As for
before
knowledge, it will
multicam
pass
editing.
away. For we know in part, and we prophesy
This is
in
what I
part.
would call
But when the
the
perfect
simplest,
comes, the partial will pass.
and I suppose there is a reason to do it this way. I don't find that it's the most efficient. Okay? So this is why I don't do this. Okay? What I do is I click here. And when you click there, you get a slash through it. And what you end up doing is bringing this in what's essentially a nested fashion. Okay? You bring a nested group of clips down. But you'll notice that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 audio tracks in this. Which seems stupid, right? You don't need 10 audio tracks. You really only need one audio track. Now, we know that we have 4 camera tracks of audio, and we know that we have 3 zoom tracks of audio. So you would think, well, we don't need 10, we need 7. Well, it's not really true because these are nested sequences, I only need 1 track of audio. We're not editing this in stereo. We're editing it in mono. There's no reason to do stereo. Because all audio comes from the front anyway. It doesn't matter. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to modify this to only have 1 audio track. So I right click on Ceremony 2. I slide down to modify and I click audio channels. Okay. Now the reason it has 16, well I said we counted 10. I guess it won't drop in more than that. The reason it has 16 is because when we first created it, Premiere looked through and said, okay, there's 16 video clips. We need 16 audio tracks. So it created them. I don't need 16 though. I only need 1. Okay. Now we haven't erased anything. All we've told it to do is combine in the background all of those audio clips into one. Okay. So now when I bring it in, I have 1 video track and 1 audio track. And you'll notice that right here, from here to here, and there's a little gap, and from here to here is where the video is. And probably after that, yeah.
And forsaking all others.
Now there's something there too.
And I read
Okay. This is where we're going to get into one of the things that I spoke about earlier. Okay. This is probably, yeah. This is the video that came out of the camera that Chris was using, and the computer believes it needs to render that stuff. Okay. Now I want to be able to use the multicam functions. Now this clip, remember that this clip, Ceremony 2, isn't 1 track. It's a placeholder for 4 tracks of video and 7 tracks of audio. 4 of which we've turned off. If I hit command, is it command? Yes. Okay. Do that again. If I hit command on my keyboard, command, hold it and double click this clip, it takes me to here because it is essentially opening up that nested sequence. Make sense? Good. Are we good? Okay, good. We're good. Alright. So I'm going to close it because I don't want it right now. And then I am going to go over here to this wrench under settings. These settings affect just this window, this canvas window. Okay? And I have the option to look at the composite, the alpha, which in this case is white, or the multi-camera. Okay? And if I look at the multi-camera, what I'm essentially doing is looking at everything at once that this camera represents. Okay? And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 video tracks. Okay? 1, that's the rear camera Chris had on a pedestal. This is the camera in the back with the long lens, camera in the back with a wide lens, and then the camera on the right hand side. You can change the priorities of these clips right here if you want to. For example, you might want to have your 2 primary cameras, 1 and 2, right here. And you might want to have your 3rd most important camera on the 3rd track. And you might want to have your least most important on the 4th track. Okay? And I'm a person who kind of does like things that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change where these show up by changing their positions inside my multicam. Okay? So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to make some room, because if I don't have any room, I can't move anything. Okay? So I'm going to take our 3 primaries, and I'm going to, I don't need to go far with it. I only really need 1 extra track. Okay? So what I'm going to do is decide what I want to be in 4th place. What I want to be in 4th place is this clip right here. Not because it's the 4th most important, but because at least after everybody comes in, I'm not even going to use it anymore. So I'm going to get it out of the way. I'm going to use my same shift technique, like that. Okay. And the second most important is let's see. Well, let's talk about the most important. The most important is probably going to be the backup. I'm gonna put the wide camera on 3. 1, 2, 3. It's already on 3. All right. So the two most important are going to be the back camera with the long lens and the side camera. Okay. So I'm going to put my side camera on 1. Yes, I am. Oh, I had some numbers there. Shift, and then drop the audio. Okay. And this one right here, I happen to know because the number C00001 is Chris's Sony, and that was, as you can see here, the back camera with the long lens. Okay. On 3 is my wide camera, and on 4 is the camera that we were using for everybody coming in. Okay? So now that I've got them rearranged, I want to, again, I actually had to create some tracks. So I'm going to go back and delete my tracks. Delete tracks. Delete all empty video and audio tracks. Click. Boom. Okay? We still have our audio in place. And now the ordering of our clips here makes a little bit more sense. I just want to check, make sure I didn't. Okay. All right. So now I can close this and go back to here. And it took a second to figure out all that what I shifting around did. Now I have in the right order. I have this clip here that was really probably our least important in the least important position, number 4. Wow, this is hard. This is a lot of talking. 30 minutes. It's 10:41. I took about a 5-minute break to take the trash out. So we're going on an hour. And I'm setting this stuff up. I think that if I wasn't trying to describe this as I went, it'd be a lot faster. Alright, so there. Side camera. Back camera. Wide camera. Fourth camera. Okay? And as we go through, you can see all of these things moving at the same time, and it looks pretty good. Alright, so now one of the things I want to be able to do is I want to be able to segment the rest of the work and sort of do it in segments. Everything is set up. I can start editing right now if I want to. But what I want to do first, before I go any further, is I'm going to get my audio right. The earlier, when you're doing multicam work, and it doesn't matter if you're in Premiere or 10, you're doing yourself a huge favor if you can go ahead and settle the audio. Okay? Audio is not that complicated. There should be a couple of points along the ceremony where cameras come in and out, or audio sources come in and out, rather. And we are not trying, this is just a simple dock edit of a ceremony, okay? So there doesn't need to be any kind of fancy audio manipulation in these, okay? You can look, for the most part. You know, it's kind of strange because I will edit the audio with my eyes and the video with my ears, just about. You've got a couple of different sections here, and you can look at the waveforms that Premiere is drawing for us and infer here what's going on. Okay? So we got a couple of different things. Okay? The minister, the groom. No, that's not right. This is not the minister. Did I mislabel these earlier? Yes, I did admit. Okay. This is not the minister. I don't know why I call it that. This are the musicians. Okay. And this is the groom. And this is the minister. Okay. You know he's the minister You know he's the minister because he's the one who runs his mouth for the entire thing here. You know those are the musicians because they play in the beginning and they play at the end and they don't play in the middle. You know that this is the groom because he's the only one left. And he starts talking here, or actually, this is the minister getting picked up in this neighborhood. And then he speaks right here, probably vows or whatnot, along with the minister. There is his vows maybe in this neighborhood, and then hers is probably there. This is the ring ceremony here, probably. And then the music, the kiss, that spike right there is probably clapping. Actually, the clapping is probably right there. What did I tell you? Okay, and then music. And then take a break right there, and then they start playing something else, okay? So, let's start by turning everything down that we are not going to listen to, okay? You know that in the beginning of the ceremony, you do not want to hear the minister or the groom. So turn those down. Don't turn them off because we want that track on later. Just turn them down, okay? And look at your meters over here to get your volume. You know you want the volume to fall in between -6 and -12 all the time. Okay? Right now, our musicians are playing, and we're in the -20 range. Peaks up at -18. So we need every 3 dB, or every 6 dB rather, doubles in volume. So we need to roughly double the volume, okay? So I'm going to grab our music track. I'm going to go up a full 6 dB. And it puts it right in the ballpark of where it needs to be. I'm actually going to come down a little bit because I think it's a little too hot. And let's do 4.7. That's good. Alright. You know that when everybody comes in, and I'm not doing this from beginning to end, by the way. If you really want to spend a bunch of time editing a ceremony, do it from beginning to end. You know, after doing this for a while, what's basically going to happen, and you know when it's going to happen. Now, I'm not saying don't watch it. I'm saying don't watch it at this point. Okay? You know where you want the audio to come in and out at this point. When the musicians are playing everybody in or playing everybody out, that's what you want to hear. You're not going to listen to the minister at this point. You're not going to be listening to the groom. They're not saying anything important. If they are saying something, you probably don't want it on the video anyway. Alright? I'm going to hit P for the pen tool in Premiere and drop an anchor there and there. I'm going to go ahead and do it for the end, there and there. Hit V to bring me back my arrow. And I'm going to lower that section right there. And now I'm going to listen to the transition. And I'm going to zoom in to do it. There she comes down the aisle. I'm going to drag this out actually. Awesome. Okay. So as the musicians finish playing, we turn their audio down. Okay. And then the kiss. And they turn to the audience to walk back down the aisle. They get announced. And the musicians pick back up. And that's where we pick them back up. Okay, so that was what? Only took a couple of seconds, and we are done with this track. This track is good to go. Now, what I'm going to do is visually kind of look over this thing. I'm going to find some hot spots, make sure we're not peeking in those hot spots. Sound good. Okay, great. I'm going to go on to the next one. The next one is the minister. The minister does the vast majority of the talking. The first words out of his mouth are usually, "You may be seated." So I'm going to look for where it says that. And I'm just going to leave this one alone. Where does he say "you may be seated"? Right as the bride gets to the front and she gets given away. All right. You see people sitting down in the video. My guess is that spike right there, right here, I hope you can see that, is the minister saying, "You may be seated." So, I'm going to put a anchor point there and an anchor point there, and I'm going to raise this to 0. Remember that 0 doesn't mean no audio. 0 means standard, or at the standard level. Jump forward a little bit, because this transition, we want it to be smoothish.
You may be seated.
Yep. Okay. But it's not loud enough. Okay. So I'm going to raise this a bit.
You may be seated.
Let's check our volume.
Privileged to say a personal word of greeting and welcome. You all are very special in their hearts and in their lives, and they're thankful.
So I've got the audio turned all the way up.
Time of covenant making. I'll begin by reading to you from 1 Corinthians chapter 13. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal.
And he's right in the range of where we really want him to be
all mysteries and all knowledge,
as far as
and if I have all faith so as to remove
volume.
mountains, but have not
He's
love,
peaking it around in
nothing.
between -12 and -9.
If I give away all I have, and if I deliver up my body to be burned, but not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable.
There's a
or
little bit
resentful.
of
It does not
you hear a little bit of
rejoice at
junk when
wrongdoing, but
I'm actually
rejoices
jiggling
with
the
truth.
cable over here on my computer.
Love bears all things.
I'm actually recording
believes
this
all
thing
things, hopes all things, endures all things.
with a Zoom
Love
connected
never
to my
ends.
speakers, which I probably
As for
shouldn't do that. I'm
prophecies, they will pass
gonna
away.
pause here for a second.
As for